Hey guys! Welcome to Couple. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. The Trump administration is hitting Russia with new sanctions punishing President Vladimir Putin's government for using a chemical weapon against an ex-spy in Britain, U.S. officials told NBC News Wednesday. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo signed off on a determination that Russia violated international law by poisoning the former spy, Sergei Skripal, and his daughter in March, officials said, a decision that was announced Wednesday afternoon by State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert. Although the United States joined European countries in publicly blaming Moscow within days of the attack, the Trump administration had never issued the formal determination that triggers automatic sanctions under a decades-old U.S. law on chemical weapons. The decision could bolster President Donald Trump's claim that despite the noise of special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged Russian election meddling, which Trump has called a witch hunt, his administration has been tough on Moscow in practice and has hit hard when needed. But Trump had to be nudged by Congress into unleashing the penalties after blowing more than a month past a statutory deadline. The government had 2 months after a formal congressional request in March for Trump to determine whether Russia had violated international law. After the deadline came and went with no response, Trump was called out in late July by House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Ed Royce, R. California, NBC News first reported. It was a rare instance of friendly fire from a fellow Republican, as members of Trump's party grew increasingly frustrated with his handling of Russia after his Helsinki summit with Putin in June. Royce, who faulted Trump for failing to make use of existing sanctions authorities on Russia, had urged Trump to comply by midday Wednesday. Senior U.S. officials said making the formal determination is a complicated and technical process that can take more time than the deadline allows, particularly to ensure that sanctions don't have unintended consequences for U.S. businesses. Previous administrations also frequently missed the deadline. Royce responded to the move Wednesday by saying Trump's administration was rightly acting to uphold international bans on chemical weapons and to put more pressure on Moscow. He said in a statement that Putin must know that we will not tolerate his deadly acts, or his ongoing attacks on our democratic process. The sanctions are structured in 2 tranches, laid out in a 1991 law, the Chemical and Biological Weapons and Warfare Elimination Act. An initial, immediate round limits exports and financing but may have limited impact, because it largely overlaps with other restrictions already in place, such as on selling arms to Russia. The biggest impact from the initial sanctions is expected to come from a ban on granting licenses to export sensitive national security goods to Russia, which in the past have included items like electronic devices and components, along with test and calibration equipment for avionics. Before the sanctions, such exports were allowed on a case-by-case basis. The new prohibition could cut off hundreds of millions of dollars in future exports to Russia, a senior State Department official said. A second, more painful round kicks in 3 months later unless Russia provides reliable assurances that it won't use chemical weapons in the future and agrees to on-site inspections by the United Nations, conditions unlikely to be met. The second round of sanctions could include downgrading diplomatic relations, suspending the state airline Aeroflot's ability to fly to the United States and cutting off nearly all exports and imports. The chemical weapons law was most recently used in March when the Trump administration determined that North Korea